So I've got a broken motherboard here that I have tried and failed to RMA, and in this video I want to share my experiences with the motherboard with you. So I've had this motherboard, I bought it back in February of 2022, put it into about 5 builds on the channel, and it was all working perfectly fine. Popped the motherboard into the box and really it sat on the shelf for almost a year. The reason is obviously new hardware comes out and I tend to build with the newer products. But what I decided I wanted to do, I might get this into a build, maybe in a system for myself at some point, and I thought I probably should update the BIOS, because if I was going to build in it, the chances are it was going to be with a 13th gen CPU, run the 12th gen that I had used in it on the channel, and the BIOS that was in it wouldn't support a 13th gen CPU. So while I still had one of these in stock, I thought let's pop it in and get the BIOS updated. So I built up a little system on the table. It just had an air cooler sitting on top of the CPU with some thermal paste in it. I didn't bother screwing it down because I wasn't planning on keeping the system up for that long. And when I tried to power things on, the motherboard didn't power on. So the first thing to look at is what is actually the problem with the system. Is it not powering on at all, or is it powering on but not posting? Because the potential problems are going to be different in each of those situations, so the troubleshooting steps are going to point you one direction or the other. In this particular instance, the system wasn't powering on at all. Despite the fact that this motherboard doesn't actually have any lighting on it, I was able to tell this by looking at a few other things. For example, I had plugged in our CPU cooler into the CPU fan header, and the fan on it didn't spin up at all. The other thing that I had plugged in was our power supply, and it has a fan, and normally when you boot the system up, the fan will spin up at the start, and the fan on the power supply wasn't spinning up. Some other motherboards will have an LED screen on it and it will cycle through different codes as the motherboard boots. This doesn't, but it actually does have some postcode status checker LEDs. They're hidden in between the 24-pin connector and the RAM on the motherboard, but these did not light up at all. So all that confirmed to me was that the system was not powering on. So the first thing you're going to do in that situation is check the simple things. Check that your power supply is actually turned on. You'll be surprised the number of times I've tried to turn a system on and actually the switch in the power supply isn't turned on. Check that the cable in the back of the power supply is actually pushed in all the way, and check that it's actually plugged in at the wall. So I did all that and it was all plugged in, and then I checked my connections both at the power supply and at the motherboard, and we only had the 24-pin connector and the 8-pin EPS cables plugged into the motherboard, and they were all plugged in appropriately. So the next thing I decided to do was clear the CMOS, and this motherboard does have a clear CMOS button on the back, so all we had to do was turn the power off and hold this button in for about 10 seconds to clear the CMOS, but unfortunately that didn't make any difference to what was happening with the motherboard. So at this stage I was getting worried we had potentially a serious problem with the motherboard. The reason I was more worried about the motherboard is it had been sitting in the box for almost a year, not in use, whereas all the other components that I were building with had actually been used recently. In fact, the power supply and the RAM I had just taken out of a build, and it seemed like a good opportunity before I put them away to actually get the BIOS in this motherboard updated. And the 12600K that I was using in the system had been in my wife's system until recently, and had been working very well. So that was the reason I was suspicious of the motherboard. If you just built the system from new and hadn't tested any of the parts, maybe the power supply or something else you might be a bit more suspicious of, but I knew this was a working power supply. But just to be 100% sure, I took all the components, put them into another motherboard, and it posted without any problem. So that pointed me to actually it was a problem with the motherboard that we had. One of the other issues you might get is maybe you have an incompatible BIOS with the CPU that you're using, but I know the BIOS version in this motherboard is compatible with the 12600K. I think in fact the last time I had built with it, it was a 12700K that I had used in the motherboard, so that wasn't going to be a potential issue, but it is something just to keep in the back of your mind. So another reason I was less suspicious that the CPU was the problem, if we had a bad CPU, and again I'd used it recently so wasn't expecting it to be the issue, I would expect the motherboard to power on but not post. And this was a different problem we were having. The motherboard was not actually powering on at all. Another thing you're probably going to want to do at this stage with a system that's not powering on is check the electrical outlet is working by plugging something else into it and checking that it gets power. If you're using any extension cables, you're going to want to check those as well. And actually the cable plugging into your power supply you're going to want to check as well. So you might want to plug that in to a different system to check that it is actually getting power. Again, this is much easier to troubleshoot when you've got lots of PC parts about. When you don't, it's much more difficult to narrow it down to one particular part. But with the troubleshooting I had done so far, we had isolated to an actual problem with the motherboard, and the other components seem okay. So another thing I would recommend doing at this stage, if you haven't got to the bottom of the problem, is actually unplug any unnecessary cables from the motherboard. This wasn't really applicable to this situation because I only had the essential cables plugged in and the motherboard was out on the table. But if this is in your case, you're going to want to unplug any fans, any SATA cables, your HD audio, any USB cables, and all your front panel connectors from the motherboard. So obviously you are going to leave your CPU fan plugged into the CPU fan header. Because of your PC post, you obviously don't want the CPU overheating. In case you were wondering, your PC should post without the CPU fan plugged in. Some motherboards have a warning on it that you can turn on, where if it doesn't detect a running CPU fan, it will warn you, but not having one plugged in shouldn't stop the PC from posting. So the next thing I wanted to do was strip the system down and rebuild it. A few reasons for doing this. Maybe the CPU wasn't sighted properly in the socket, but again, had that been the case, I would probably expect the system to power on, but not post. So I wasn't expecting this to fix the problem, but maybe I hadn't actually plugged in the power supply cables correctly. It looked like I had, so actually unplugging them and plugging them in again may have fixed the problem. Another thing this was going to allow me to do was inspect the motherboard for any physical damage as a particular reason why it wasn't working, and in particular I had a really good look at the socket and couldn't see any bent or damaged pins. So putting the system back together again, and it was absolutely no difference, it would not power on. So the next thing that came to me was there a problem with the power switch pins on the motherboard? And this motherboard does not have standard front panel connectors. By default, out of the box, we've only got 2 pins for your power switch. And if you want to add in all the extra front panel connectors, there's a little add-in card that you need to add in, and that gives you a full set of front panel connectors. So trying jumping the 2 pins on the motherboard wasn't working. So I plugged in the add-in card and tried to jump the power pins on it, and it made absolutely no difference. So at this stage I did try one more thing that I wasn't expecting to work. I probably was anticipating putting this out as a YouTube video, and I thought a lot of you were probably going to wonder, why don't you just plug in the power switch cable to see does that work? So I did that. It didn't make any difference. It wouldn't be something I would normally do in the troubleshooting process, but I imagine a lot of you are wondering what the hell I'm doing with this screwdriver touching the 2 pins together, and would it not be better just to try a power switch? The only reason for me doing this step is to show you guys that that does not work. But the screwdriver should do exactly the same job as plugging this cable in and pressing the button, and in fact it should do a better job, because the power switch cable could actually be damaged, or the button on the case could be damaged, and this is a very reliable way to test the 2 pins just by joining them together with a screwdriver. So the next thing that I wanted to try was running the motherboard with 1 stick of RAM in it. Should there be an issue with one of the RAM slots on the motherboard or the memory channels in the CPU. But again, if this was the issue, I would expect the motherboard to power on but not post, rather than not power on at all. So trying 1 stick of RAM in either of the RAM slots didn't make any difference, and the system would not power on. So the last thing that I could think to try was flashing the BIOS. Again, I wasn't expecting this to work because I couldn't actually get the motherboard to power on, but I did load the BIOS up onto a USB drive and use the motherboard's BIOS flashback function, and surprisingly it did actually work. We got the little blinking LED, which after about 5 minutes it stopped, indicating that the motherboard now had the latest BIOS installed on it, and it was absolutely no difference, it would not power on. So at this stage I was beat. There was nothing else I could think to do other than send the motherboard back to the manufacturer to get them to take a look at it. So how that happens depends where you are in the world and which manufacturer it is. In the UK with ASUS, it goes back to the retailer and then they'll send it on to ASUS for repair. So I went ahead and got the motherboard packaged up and sent back, and about a day or so after the retailer had it, I got an email from them saying that they had found a problem with the motherboard. There was some exposed copper on the bottom left-hand corner on the rear of the motherboard through a track, and this was therefore physical damage, and so the motherboard was going to be returned to me. So that came as a bit of a surprise to me because I had given the motherboard a good look at and hadn't noticed any damage to it. But fair enough, the motherboards that I use on the channel do get put through their paces. They're in and out of different cases. I test so many different cooling configurations in the cases, cramming lots of hardware in and out, and there is a very real risk of the hardware getting damaged compared to a standard build that you do. So I just thought, right, I'll have to wait till the motherboard comes back and get a closer look at it. So when the motherboard did come back, and I did actually look down at the bottom left hand side where the camera zoomed all the way in, you can see the damage that they were talking about. So at this stage I'd accepted, fair enough, that's my fault. I've obviously done something to the back of the motherboard during one of the builds, and that's why it's not working. So what I thought I would do is have a look back through my previous build videos to see when that actually occurred. So I looked back through the videos and found that obviously the first video I built with the motherboard was in good condition and you couldn't see this exposed copper. But actually the second build that I did with the motherboard, the damage was on the motherboard. And in fact, I used that motherboard in 4 further builds over the next 6 months without any issues, and all the systems I built with it actually ran perfectly, and I did quite a bit of detailed thermal testing pushing each of the systems that I had built. So this got me thinking, the motherboard obviously had a defect on it, but was this defect the reason the motherboard wouldn't power on at all? So I contacted the retailer who had checked the motherboard. They had obviously checked it themselves, found the damage and didn't send it on to Zeus. So I pointed out to them that I actually had used this motherboard in further builds without any problems with the defect on the back of the motherboard. So I wasn't sure that this was actually the reason my motherboard wasn't powering on. And I asked them, when they find a motherboard that has some physical damage on it, do they actually look any further at the motherboard or just say the warranty is void because the motherboard has some physical damage on it, even if that physical damage is not the reason the motherboard is experiencing its current problem? And the answer that I got was actually, if there's physical damage on the motherboard, it's warranty void. So I think from this I have learned 2 very important lessons. I have to hold my hands up. I have damaged the back of this motherboard during the first build that I did with it. So the first thing is be really careful with your hardware when you're building with it. I had assumed this was me, 5 builds on the channel, in and out of different cases, lots of different thermal testing, and the motherboard had just taken its wear and tear in the last build that actually caused this damage. But it was actually the first build that I did with the motherboard this had happened. So be really careful when you're working with the hardware. I haven't maybe been that particular careful with the back of motherboards before, particularly when I'm putting it into the case at maybe not the best angle. I'm trying to get the shots to show you the work that I'm doing with it. So set your case down on its back, set the motherboard in gently, and take care with the back of the motherboard around the standoffs, because I imagine that was a standoff on the case that had damaged the motherboard. So that's the first thing, take extra care because these things can happen. The second thing is, if your motherboard has any physical damage on it and something else goes wrong, your warranty is void. So this is really useful if you're going to be buying a motherboard that's second hand and actually the seller says it's still got this length of warranty left. Inspect the motherboard carefully, because if it does actually have any physical damage in it, your warranty is void. So maybe think twice about buying that particular motherboard. The other thing is, if you do actually get a motherboard out from the manufacturer and it has a problem on it that you spot, but it's working well and you can't be bothered sending it back because actually it works okay, be careful, because should that motherboard develop a fault later on, you're not going to be covered under warranty. So that was a slightly different video, but hopefully it was useful for you. If you haven't had that experience yet, and I hope you never do, where a component in your system goes wrong and you have to get it fixed, hopefully some of the troubleshooting that I've done with the motherboard will help you diagnose the problem and potentially fix the problem without needing you to send your hardware away. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching.